Okay, hey everybody, here we are. Good to see everybody. Wow, lots of people on already. Excellent. Hi, Matt. Hi, Mark. Hi, James. Hi, TBA. Can't remember. Is it Tim? I think so. Good to see all of you. So today we're going to talk about improvising versus using a can solo, using something that's out of the can, right? You just take it out of the can and use it. In other words, it's prepared. Kind of what are some ideas that, hey, Robert, around that. We're going to talk about specifically in the blues. And the example I'm going to use is sort of a blues. It's more a rhythm and blues. I was looking through things to do, and I thought I'd do the changes to John Mayer's Waiting on the World to Change. So, hey, good evening from Germany. Well, good afternoon from New York, USA. Hi, Garrett. Good to see you. So that's what we're going to do today. And got 20 people on, so we may as well go ahead and go to it. So I'm still, hey, Explorer 2006, good morning. And Tony, good morning to you too. Got my dog going in the background, so I guess it's about time. Can you all hear me okay? Hopefully you can. Embry, good to see you, brother. Mike, good to see you, brother. All right. Already said good morning to you. All right, but good morning again. Wow, we got lots of people on. Okay, so let's go to it. We're going to start with the changes. So the changes to this song are you've probably all heard it. You know, it's an R&B. Right, so that's a D to a B minor, and then a G to a D. All right, and then you got the A to a B minor, and finally back to the G to the D. All right. Hey, and hi, KT. Good to see you. Good to see you too, Mike, from Canada and formerly from Canada, I think, from now south of the equator in Colombia. Good to see you both. All right. So what I'm going to do is I've got a backing track going for that, and I'll give you an idea of what a can solo is. So can solo, one of the approaches to doing gigs or whatever is to for every song you've got, you learn the changes and then you'll do a can solo, learning exactly. So let me try and do that. I tend to be more of an improviser, but let me try and do that. I did write out something this morning, and so we'll see if we can get that. All right, so we'll kind of get our arms wrapped around the backing track here. Here we go. Okay, here's the backing track. D, B minor, B, D, A, B minor, G, D, D, B minor, G, D, A, B minor, G, D. Okay, here we go. Okay, so that was sort of a can solo, kind of played it out beforehand and thought about the chords. Now the chords, it's always important when you're improvising, I think, is to do your homework beforehand and to think about the chords. This one's actually pretty simple. These are all chords that are in the key of D minor. I'm sorry, D major, B minor / B minor. Those are related keys. They're both basically the same keys, same chords, same harmony. So D and B minor are both in D. G is the 4 chord of the D. A is the 5 chord of the D, and of course B minor is the 6 chord, right? Is the minor, the relative minor to D. So it's all in D. So I can play anything that's in D. Now, the advantage of doing a can solo. So if I do that can solo, I can start out thinking about, okay, so I'm doing maybe a B minor pentatonic. So I've got that right there in various places on the fretboard. And I can work out certain things beforehand that I like and I don't like. I can play, you heard me start out with a typical sort of bend. Right? So something like that is pretty standard. But it does capture the this line right here. Here I'm going to that B minor, right? And I'm ending on, which is in the B minor chord, right? So I'm doing that, and then in going from the G, I can imitate that, right? I can get that G in there to the D change. So I can think about that beforehand and kind of plan it out and play it. The other thing I can kind of do is, and I kind of botched the line a little bit, but I played this right here. And that's supposed to be, if you're familiar with John Mayer's playing it all, there's a line that he does in a different song called Gravity from the same album, Continuum, which is like 2004, where he does that sort of thing where he's kind of floating a little bit. It's a great solo. You should check it out. And so what I'm trying to do there is capture a line that sounds a little bit like John Mayer and get that. So that's one thing that you can do in a canned solo. You can work out some ideas and you can do that. Now, of course, the problem is that if you haven't played it a lot, which I haven't, and you go and you do it live, if you're like me, you get nervous and you mess up a little bit, and then you've got to recover. So you've got to play it enough times through so that it's solid in your brain. And, you're just going to, when you make a mistake, which happens inevitably, we all make mistakes when we're playing live or otherwise, that you work through it and it doesn't stumble. I always knew when I was playing in my old show pieces, which I used to play in living room concerts that were really worked out, jazz numbers. I used to feel I really knew the piece when I could mess up and not stop and play through and basically still have it sound good. So that's my thinking right there. So there's some negatives to that. And of course, it also takes a lot of work to do. If you're going to work out a whole solo, if you're going to work out, 5 or 6 choruses, geez, that's a ton of work. So that's one of those things. Now, I saw Emery commented that it sounds a lot like People Get Ready. Yeah, absolutely. I love that song, this song, but there's a couple of different things. I like the music a lot. I also think the words are kind of lame. It's like we're just sitting around waiting for the world to change. Why don't you do something about it? Come on, it's ridiculous. But anyway, it doesn't seem like it's a very good anthem for people. Hey, Dave, how you doing? Good to see you on. Yeah. Oh, my shirt suits the wallpaper. Thank you, El Rondo. That's great. The El Rondo. All right. And Garrett, not the saddest key. Yeah, I think that's D minor is the saddest key, right, from Spinal Tap. Okay. So let's see. So that's that approach. Now let's take an improvisational approach to it. And another way is to just improvise the whole thing. So let's try that. So what the heck? Now we know it's in D. And I have enough experience to kind of pull off some things and try some different things, and I'm sure many of you do too, or maybe all of you do. But let's just pull it off, right? So if I need to play more or whatever. kind of a crappy one, I have to say. It wasn't the best. But, I mean, the more you play with it, the more you can kind of come up with different ideas. Like, you could use, you can use double stops. Those were third double stops, or you can use fourths. You can use fourths. You can use, and so forth. And I think, when what you tend to do, and what I tend to do, is I tend to use sort of canned lines, let you sink yourself into the rhythm, which is kind of tough, I find, off the cuff. But, what I think happens is I tend to fall into lines that are kind of classic improvisational lines, like, that kind of stuff, which are things that my fingers like to do, but it's not really my brain working so well. So it's best if you practice, I think, the improvisation beforehand. So anyway, all this is kind of getting to the point of, knowing the song and being able to improvise. I think when I worked with somebody fairly recently, he said something that I think I've always done, but I haven't consciously done it so much. And that is to say, do one chorus of a solo, write it out and know it cold. And then whenever you get lost or something, you can use ideas from that. And you can always fall back. You can always fall back on that. But don't do the whole thing. Don't write out, 5 choruses of a canned solo, because you just never know when the singer wants you to only take 2, or maybe they nod at you and say, yeah, keep going, maybe take 10, if it's a Pink Floyd song or something like that, right? So anyway, I think that's about it, let your heart play. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good idea, for sure. But it also helps to kind of have some things prepared. I think if you think more, sometimes when you just kind of let yourself be in the moment, you come up with kind of hackneyed ideas like I just did. But other times, if you do some thinking about it beforehand and plan it out, you can come up with some better ideas, and that will inform your improvisation and make it better. So that's it. I'm rushing this a bit. Okay. Well, I don't know what else to tell you. Yeah, we can do a longer lesson on it, and maybe I'll do a little more prepared lesson on it. But I think that was kind of the thoughts. So that's my thoughts, is really to say, this is what I do now when I prepare, and I've done this, I don't know, since maybe the mid 90s. I did it a lot when I was in a bluegrass band, where I would definitely prepare a little bit about how I was playing, because the changes were fast, and a lot of times you didn't have a lot of time to think. So you had to kind of plan out those changes and understand what you were doing. And you can't end, unless you want to be hackneyed, you can't end everything with, So you have to think of other ways to end the bluegrass song or the bluegrass solo that are maybe interesting. And so it's good to have something canned. Plus, it was tougher because I was singing a lot of that too. So that was tough. So let me answer some questions. Message retracted. Okay. All right. Let's see. Shirt is back on the hook. Yeah. Different shirt. Rushing it a bit. Okay. I already got that. Sorry about that, Embry. The backing is very swingy. It's hard to get the swing in an improv. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's good to let, it's good if you're playing with the band and you're getting into it, right? And it gives you a little bit of time to kind of do that. And that's probably the most important thing about improvisation, is getting the timing right. If you get the timing right and you hit the right note at the end, I could have just hit the D note over all those chords, and if I get a decent timing, it's going to sound pretty good. So, that was a Charlie Christian sort of idea, is that as long as you get the timing right, it's going to sound okay to people. All right. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate that. Okay, question. When I play double stops, am I seeing them within the chords, within the scale, or both? I'm seeing them in the chords. If I concentrate on it, I see them in the chords, but I do have different scale patterns that I play or that I know of, right? So I know, for example, I've told people before, I tend to play major scales and not pentatonic scales. So I tend to play, the diatonic, not pentatonic. And so because of that, I will see, like, for instance, here is the D major scale in this seventh position. That's a B minor, right? So I see this right here, and I see this right here. But if I want to go up the neck, I think about the chords that are there. So, for example, sometimes I played improvisations on this one where it's where it goes from the A to the B minor, of like something like this. Something like that. Of course, that was bad timing, but in that case, I'm seeing that A right there and that B minor way up here on the 14th and the 15th. I guess the B minor right there is on the third. The roots are on the third string, so that's an A and a B, right? And that's a D chord. So I definitely see them when I'm consciously looking for them in the chords. And yeah, so I guess that's what I'm doing there. All right, Scott Thrasher, I'd really like to see some of these types of. You mean Scott? Maybe we can clarify, and Matt too. Maybe clarify that a little bit. Let's see. I would really like to see some of these types of lessons and a longer one of these. So I'm guessing that you'd like to see something on this sort of R&B type thing. Is that what we're talking about? I hope so, because I think my jam lessons are really like that anyway, where I give you a couple of ways to play the chords, and I give you a couple of ways to play the improvisation, and you've got a little solo to do it. So they're kind of like that, but I'm happy to do more, pushing the progression. Yeah. All right, sing one, man. Let's hear one. You mean a bluegrass song? All right. Well, I promise we'll do one next time. Okay. Next week we'll do some bluegrass. Okay. When am I going to teach the Boogaloo Rhythm Tramp Groove by Otis Redding? Sometime. I have about 527 songs on the to-do list, so it's going to happen sometime. keep pushing me though, because otherwise it can. I've had a few off there. Give us a sign off. R.I.P. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think Mike, are you talking about Roy Clark? Oh man. So I should have prepared something for Roy Clark. I could have. You know what? I'll tell you what. I'll sing one next time. I'll sing a Roy Clark song, and then maybe play. The only thing I ever learned of his was the. I can't play that off the cuff. That kind of stuff. 1 after 909. All right. Okay. So I think you were talking about that, Mike, right? No, a rip. Oh, a rip, a jam. Okay. Sorry, I totally missed that one. A rip, a jam. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll end it on a jam. Okay, we'll end it on a jam. Sounds good. Yeah, a Malaguena. 1 after 909. Yeah, we'll do that one. How to come up with solos just knowing the key and the chord progressions. Right. So a number of my jam, what I call jam session videos are that. Scott, you should check them out. In those, I basically take the chord progression and I break down how you might play that on the guitar, how you might approach it with a second guitar, right? So you're not just banging out chords. And then the lead lesson is usually around how the chords are dictating sort of what ideas you're going to, or what what structures you're going to use, and what key you're in, and sometimes where it's out. Okay. Osman, I think that's Frank, right? Frank, good morning. All right. Number 526. What's that, Dave? 526. Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's take it out, and maybe we'll do a little more. We'll do a little more waiting on the world to come. Or I'm waiting on the change. What is it? Waiting. What is this? I'm waiting on the world to change. There it's it. All right. Jimmy Dean fired Roy Clark. Is that right? Jeez. Talk about crazy. All right. Well, anyway, peeps, I thank you. I'm seeing Mike. I'm picking up your language. Anyway, people, thank you. Thanks, gang. Appreciate seeing you on this fine Sunday. My wife just got home from Rochester, so land of the, the frozen land of Nador, as far as I'm concerned. And so I can see I have a few things to do around the house, and I better get going. So let's end with a little jam, and we'll see you on down the road. Okay. See you for this Sunday. Thanks again for joining me on it. I always appreciate it. Okay. Play a little bit. All right. All right. See y'all later.